welcome to ET webinar powered by Tomorrow Makers, the leading portal on personal finance education. Today's session will discuss on financial independence and how you can avoid midlife crisis. I'm joined by Mr. Tanwir, who's a financial fitness coach for today. Thanks, Tanwir, for your time. Tanwir has been associated with the personal finance industry for almost 25 years. Tanwir, thanks for joining in. And everybody wants to be financially fit. And since you're the financial fitness coach for today, tell us something more about it and how and what are you going to discuss today?
Great. Thank you so much, Pallavi. Hi, welcome all. In fact, today's session will focus more on simplicity. As the first slide suggests, that you do not need some great insight or a rocket science knowledge to actually manage your finances. All you have to do, follow a few basic simple steps. And if you follow those basics, few simple steps, you will gain your own financial independence or you will gain your own financial fitness. So I'll take you through the journey of the 7 steps, how you can actually gain financial fitness over a period of time. So one thing I would like to highlight out here, it is not a one-time exercise that you do. For example, if you want to be physically fit, just getting a gym member will not help you get fit. It is a regular, simple exercise that will, over a period of time, help you get financial fitness, your physical fitness. So is finance. So let's get forward. So what we do, we basically have a very simple philosophy when we are actually earning money and trying to save. So the general concept is you earn money and you save. And the savings in bits and pieces in small amount over a long-term period, this grows into a bigger sum. And that's how your wealth gets created. Your important goals in your lives get met. Now, one of the main problem that people of the new millennial face is they tend to either spend more than what they earn. That's been one of the common questions I've faced in many forums. Second problem is that we earn, we spend, and what is left we try to save. If we simply try to flip this entire situation, we earn and we save first. If we allocate a small amount of saving first and then what is left is spent, then life is going to be very good. And that is,
in fact, as we proceed further, I just want to remind all the attendees, you can send us your questions as we are live as of now, and at the end of the session, that is in the last 15 minutes, we'll be taking up your questions. Do share your feedback at the end of the session. Please continue.
Okay, so on this particular side, there's one important aspect I have got asked on many forums. In fact, I was asked by a very senior mid-level guy in an advertising agency he works. He asked me a very simple question. Tanvir, when I used to earn 50,000 rupees a month, I used to struggle at the end of the month to make my ends meet. Today, I'm earning almost 5 lakh rupees, yet I don't know where my money goes. If you are one of them who have such problem, you can pose a question. I will give you a solution, which is called the 3 envelope solution, which will help you to inculcate the habit of savings on a regular basis and break out from the consumption habit, which typically is a big growing problem that we are seeing, especially the younger generations. Okay, so let me take you through the next slide. So the next question you'll have to ask, what's your worth? So when I talk about the millennials, they are people born between 80 and 2000. So painting everybody with the same brush may not be a prudent or a wise idea. So generally I break the audience within 3 groups. And as you actually mature, get married, have kids, so you'll realize that you want to start savings and owning assets. So if you are in a situation, what you own, what are your assets and what you owe, so what is a debt, if that is a kind of a situation that you are into, then you'll have to understand which side of your worth is more. If you're owning more than what you actually owe, that is debt, then you will be in a good situation. Then that's arrow is a green arrow for you. But if you are in a situation, if you are owing, I mean your debt, your loans are more than what your assets are or what you have saved, then it's something that you need to worry about. So here you will have come across these two situations. One, when you really actually look at your budget, there are two kind of expenditures that happen. One is the necessity or necessary expenditure, which is your roti, kapda, makan, your food, clothing, and shelter. That's a basic necessity expenditure that you'll have. And other portion is the lifestyle expenditure that you incur. Most often, the culprit that we see, if it's causing a dent in your budget, are the lifestyle expenditures. But if you are in a situation where you are unable to make your ends meet, your necessary expenditure is also causing a worry, then please do your self-assessment, and there is a need to upskill yourself, because your current normal expenditure should be met with your normal earnings. And that, if there is a problem, then you need to upskill yourself or add any other skill set which will help you increase your earnings. It could be pursuing further education as well. Now, the second question comes, if there is a problem because of your lifestyle expenditure, then most likely you would get into two kind of bad loans. One is your credit card loans, and two, it could be a personal loan. Or nowadays what probably people do is, when they buy consumer durable products, even like a phone or a television, they buy on EMIs. Those kind of problems could crop up. Now, let me give you a knowledge what are good loans or what are bad loans out here. Good loans are the ones that either you take it for appreciating asset. For example, say a house, a home loan is a good loan, because that you are taking for an asset which is appreciating in nature. Second loan which is good are education loan, because that will help you to basically increase your ability to earn over a long-term period. So they are two good loans, and both these loans, when you take, you get some tax saving advantage. So they are classified as good loans. Anything that is for consumption, if you take a loan, then those loans typically are bad loans. Even buying a car loan, buying a car on a loan is taken as not a good loan, because it's a depreciating asset. So there will always be a fight between instant gratification and delayed gratification. So any consumption based goods that you want to buy, it will be ideally prudent to delay the gratification or the want of actually trying to own that particular assets by buying through the savings and not taking a loan on those. So your first step should be to ensure that you get into the green zone where you own assets which is far more higher than what you owe or what is your loan assets. That should be the criteria, and that's what is called in debt management. Now, for any reason, if you have bad loans, so before you start your investment, ensure you pay your credit card debts, you pay your personal loans, because the rate of interest that you pay is far higher than what you would earn by saving or investing in any asset class. So it is absolutely necessary to first pay off your debt before you start saving or investing. Now let me take you to the concept of what is called human capital and financial capital. Now, see, there is two aspects. when you are dealing with your own self, your human capital is your ability to keep earning over a long-term period. And financial capital is the savings that you or investment that you do in financial assets that will help you to pay over a long-term period. Now, there are some problems that people find in trying to segregate these two. Now, what do I mean by human capital? So, like I said, your ability to earn. So, if you're investing in actually helping to ensure that you're able to earn over a long-term period. Now, why has it become very important in today's life? Now, if you look at technology is disrupting. They are many times what happens is trying to disintermediate or do away with jobs that are monotonous in nature. So, for example, if you look at the jobs of a teller counter is decreasing over a over a period with the advent of ATM and online banking. So you will have to continuously upskill yourself to ensure that your human capital remains intact. Okay, the other way of looking from human capital is insuring yourself, which I'll cover subsequently in my later slides as well. Now, how do you ensure that you protect your financial capital? See, the financial capital that you have is the capital that you've invested. Especially in a time of startups and stock option that is available, many a times when you or your listed company gives stock options, most often that becomes a disproportionate share of your entire assets. Now, many a times we've realized that if a stock option is say about a crore rupees, your overall wealth will be about 1.5 2 crore rupees. So that takes a disproportionate share of your entire assets. And most often you would want to retain those stock options for a longer time because of our human bias that we have. The company that we work with, we tend to be familiar and we want to carry that risk. Now that is a big risk for any reason. If your sector or a company does well, not only your human capital is at risk because your ability to earn or your increment will be at stake, but your financial capital will also be at risk. Now, let me give you an example. Suppose you're working on a real estate industry, and today the real estate industry is passing through a tough time. So most likely your company will either sack people, give pink slip, or may not give adequate increment because the industry is passing through a lot of stress. Now, if you have invested in real estate, or you have that real estate stock of your own company, so it's like putting all eggs in one basket. So your financial and human asset is in the same basket, and if they depreciate, it's dragging you completely down. So your human and financial capital should be in such a way that if for any reason if one goes down, the other should stand up or go up, and that is what is de-risking and segregating human and financial capital. So I was asked a very interesting question in one of the television shows. So I was asked with the gentleman. He said, "My father worked in a PSU company. He gave us a good. We are three siblings. He gave us good education, and he got us married. And today he's retired and living a good retired life. So he has not done any financial planning. So why should I do financial planning?" So it was a very interesting question. So he asked me, is financial planning a necessity or fad? And I thought it was very important to put this question to you also. See, what has happened? If I look at my fathers or a generation before that, the times have changed. Now, India won the 1983 World Cup. India scored 183 runs in 60 overs and won the World Cup. In today's time, it will be difficult to defend their score many a times in 20 overs match also. Similarly, when you look at your own financial planning, the mushrooming of malls, easy availability of loan and credit has helped us to live on a future earning. We tend to swipe our cards. People staying in nuclear families, so we are visiting malls far more often than what it was earlier. Our consumption habits are changing. I remember when my father got the first Premier Padmini car, it was a big celebration. But today, the next generation starts thinking of BMW and Mercedes. So that's how the consumption patterns have changed. To keep pace with this consumption pattern and the lifestyle changes, financial planning has become very imperative, and it's a necessity and not a luxury anymore. Because financial planning enables you to achieve much more with the same amount of money. Now, let me share a very important study. There's a book called What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School. So there is a interesting research which was done by the author Mark McCormick. He took a batch of 100 students from Harvard Business School and asked them only two set of questions. First, do you have a financial plan? And second, have you written that financial plan down? So the first set of audience, which was almost 84% of the audience, neither had a plan nor they wrote down the plan. The second set of 13% audience just vaguely had that goal in their mind, a plan, but not a written plan on it. The minority 3% actually had a well-defined goal and a written plan on how they want to achieve it. So net worth was the only criteria how the researchers could judge. So after a period of 10 years, the researcher author goes back to all these 100 people to judge how they have done. So the first set of people who did not have a goal, neither written plan, achieved say X. The second set of audience, by virtue of just having a rough goal in their mind but not a plan, achieved 2X. The final minority who had a goal and a well-written plan achieved 10 times both these people put together, 30X. That is what a written financial plan helps you to achieve with your own set of money. I repeat, with a limited amount of money, you can achieve much more. So let's go to the next slide. What should the financial plan look like? This is our trademarked approach of financial planning, which basically covers the 7 aspects. So I've already touched upon debt management, what are good loans and what are bad loans, and it makes sense to first pay your bad loans before you start investing. So if you actually look at this pyramid, it's into 5 building blocks. The first, and if you spell it from either way, it's ERGRE. The first 2 blocks, ER, is all about protecting what you've already earned and saved. The second 2 blocks, G and R, is all about goal planning, planning your taxes, and ensuring the good retirement planning and growing your money to achieve your life's important goal. And third is basically you seamlessly transfer your asset to your loved one in the manner you want it. So if I look at the first block, it's called emergency fund. Why do we need this emergency fund? The emergency fund is needed not only for any bad news, it could be for any good news. For example, if you're not married, you're planning to get married and you want to give your to-be spouse a gift, or there's marriage in the family and you want to gift your family member an expensive gift, or you want to reward yourself by just buying an expensive phone or a laptop, or your laptop has crashed and you need to replace it. So it could be anything. The whole intent of this emergency fund is two. One is easy liquidity, it should come at your call, and two, it should not disturb your long-term investments. Now, second block is called risk cover. When I talk about risk, I'm talking about the risk of human capital that I referred in my earlier slides. And the risk of human capital is multiple fold. One is, God forbid, if you were to die, what will happen to your loved ones? If you have dependents, so you need to buy a term insurance. A term insurance is nothing but a pure risk cover, meaning you pay a small amount of premium to get a big cover. Now, for example, if you are between 25 and 30-year-old, a 1 crore cover will cost you not more than about 8,000 rupees annually. It means not even some 30 rupees, 40 rupees a day. That's the kind of cover you get for 1 crore. Now, if you here, this money will come, God forbid, only on your death. This is called a term insurance. The second risk cover that you need to add out here is very important. It's called medical insurance or a hospitalization insurance, health insurance. Now, one of the most common mistake that people do out here is buy a health insurance. They don't buy a health insurance because many a times a company provide a health insurance. My earnest request is you should have a health insurance cover beyond your normal risk cover or insurance that your company provides. And I'll tell you my reason why. It was in one of the workshop I was doing, I met with a young lady who just about married. She was wanting to take a health insurance, but she was expecting that. So I told, after your delivery and 6 months thereafter, you can buy a health insurance cover. So when she went through a delivery, she realized that it's hospitalization expensive. This time she got a health insurance cover just after the baby was born and 6 months passed by. So we created a combination where you pay a low premium and I get a high insurance cover. So we got her insurance cover of 25 lakh rupees. So as she paid the second premium, her newborn child, was 1.5 years old, was diagnosed with blood cancer. Now that's a very serious illness. The family was shaken. A huge amount of emotional trauma that they went through, and I wish no parents have to go through that trauma. But the financial trauma was not at all there. We got entire 25 lakh rupees for the treatment. The child went through a bone marrow transplant, and God saved the child. The child has survived cancer and now is about 6 years old now. So that is the importance of having a good health insurance cover. So this is an absolutely important. Now, many a times we tend to ignore risk because we can't see them in the near future. Many a times we feel that we are good, we are healthy, we will not get diagnosed with such illness. Now let me give you an example. People like Yuvraj Singh was a sports person diagnosed with cancer. Sonali Bendre, Manisha Koirala, they all celebrities. They focus a lot on diet, they focus a lot on a good lifestyle, and they was diagnosed with cancer. So bad times can strike you at any time. And this one small mistake can rob you of your life's earning, or it will force you to sell even your houses and jewelry at times to save the life of your loved ones. So these are risks that you need to cover, very, very important. There's one more risk to cover on critical illness. If you have had a history of critical illness like cancer, heart attacks and all, so advisable to have it, but not an essential part, because if you get a good health insurance mix, you may tend to temporarily avoid this. Now, the third building block is all about goal planning. So I've shared my Harvard experience. Goal planning, see, what are the biggest challenge that people face in today's time? Most of us, when we talk to a lot of individuals who are successfully saving also, there is an ad hoc investment. We have grown in a culture where we're used to buying financial products and not financial planning. Now, let me give an example why products can at time be misleading. So, for example, ibuprofen is a medicine which is extremely good for fever and severe body ache. But if you're diagnosed with dengue, if a doctor administers ibuprofen to a dengue patient, most likely the patient will die. You have same symptom, same medicine, and yet two different outcomes. So most often it is not the product, but the ill application of product that destroys capital. Goal planning ensures that you actually buy the right set of investment product for the right time horizon of the goal that you have. Now, when you're buying investment, it is prudent to ensure that you do tax planning also. A lot of the investment product will help you save tax through 80C. Health insurance will help you save tax through 80D, Section 80D. Your normal retirement planning that you do, how much money would you need to live a comfortable retired life for the next post-retirement, will help you ensure that you also save tax. It could be through NPS that you invest, or it could be through company NPS, corporate NPS that you plan. All these three put together works together in tandem to help you do goal planning, retirement planning, and tax planning. So it's a far more focused and a directed approach towards helping you achieve your life's most important goals and also to save tax. So once you're doing this, the next thing is you have grown, you have built on assets. How do you transfer them to your lost fund? Now again, there's a big mistake that people do out here is think estate planning or writing a will. Estate planning can be through trust or writing a will. Now, most often when you talk about will and trust, people associate with death, and I am not going to be there. That's not the case. Now they associate this kind of planning with later part of the life when they are retired. Now, the challenge out here is we live in nuclear families, and even if you're having smaller kids, younger kids, as couple you go on holidays together, you go on movies, malls together. God forbid something happens, and if you both go to die, most often your children will not know where are your assets. Forget about transferring them. So writing a simple will on an A4 sheet paper ensures that you capture all your assets and how you would want to distribute those assets to your loved ones. That's an important part of planning which most often get missed out. So this is our trademark approach of a comprehensive financial planning, which takes care of each and every aspects that is available here towards life planning. Let's take it forward on how we can invest. Now, before I invest, I've already shared the IBGC example. Let me take a few of the basics that are extremely important in actually helping you do your investment plan better. Okay, first, let me take you through this mindset. And I picked this article very recently when this young lady, Bianca, beat Serena Williams in the Grand Slam. And what a beautiful quote she had put. And I will read it for your sake. She said, I remember when I was 16, after I won the Orange Bowl title, juniors, I remember I wrote myself a check of this tournament, winning the tournament obviously. At this level, Everyone knows how to play tennis. The thing that separates the best from the best is just the mindset. It's a beautiful word. I would say get the money mindset. If you're already surrounded by money problems, you will only invite money problems. Okay, think about riches. Think about the minus. In fact, there's a very beautiful. If you read about Jim Carrey, he wrote sometimes that before he got the movie Mask, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, he wrote a check to himself of $1 million of the amount, and he actually got the movie and he earned that money. So many a time, creating that mindset in the subconscious mind, you start believing yourself in trying to create that world. Now, all this might sound a little theoretical or very bookish, but it's absolutely true. Now, let me take you through one simple, now this is my own life experience. The slide that you see is about an internal offsite workshop we had. And this is what I was talking to my team about mindset. Now, the rod that we are holding in the softest part of our neck between me and my colleague is actually an iron rod used for construction. Now, the task was to bend this iron rod using the soft parts of a neck without touching it. Now, it seems an impossible task. Let's show if it's possible or not. So let me play this a little bit. So you have seen that this difficult task is possible. One, getting the mindset right. Two, the right technique. And third is, if you see, we had a coach guiding there. So if you have the right mindset of building money, the attitude, the will to take action, and if you can't do it yourself, you need a coach who can handhold you in your journey to ensure that you create wealth for your life and make yourself proud by achieving those milestones which really mean a lot to you.
Well, that was an interesting way of telling the whole thing, but I just want to remind the attendees once again that if they want to send any questions, the session is still on till 3 and they can send their questions. As well as we would like to move from the audiences, if they are finding this whole session useful, do send us your feedback. Tanwir, proceed with the presentation.
Okay, I also want to give a disclaimer. Please do not try this yourself at home without an expert guidance. Okay, this could be fatal. So if you do so, I'm not responsible. Okay. So, sorry. Can you just get this slide? It's not moving. Maybe because of that. Okay. So now this is a very interesting question I'll ask you. Now suppose if you are a parent, okay, now I know we are talking to millennials, so a lot of you will not be parents. So assume that you have a brother, sister, or you have niece, nephews, or anybody who are very young. One wants to go to a merry-go-round, another wants to go to a roller coaster. Which one would you allow? So when I've asked this question to most of the time, now Pallavi, you are also an audience there. So which one would you allow your child to go? Merry-go-round or roller coaster? It's a no trick question, as a motherly instinct of fear and all.
It depends on the age of the child, since my child is quite young.
So I'm asking for young child. Okay. Merry-go-round, right? So most often, even if you ask to an elder child, so preference, if given, they'll prefer a merry-go-round to a roller coaster ride, because perception. Now let me do. There are more accidents in merry-go-round than on a roller coaster.
Right, but the perception is that it looks more scary and more risky.
Absolutely. Most often, the risk is ill-perceived. Now let me, same example out here. Now if your teenage daughter wants to go for a bungee jumping, as parents, you will say, "Nahi, you do not go." The first reaction will be, "Pagal ho gaya kya?" Okay, it's why you gone mad. So that's the attitude that we have. But, and most often the risk of investment is also ill perceived. Now let me give some anecdote. So if I walk into somebody's house, or on a road, if I'm walking and I'm walking with a, say, a cigarette in hand, and other guy is walking with a handgun, most often the person with a handgun will be feared, for smoking kills more people. Malaria kills is, if I say which is the deadlier disease, malaria or AIDS, people might say AIDS, but malaria kills more people than your AIDS. So most often the perception of real risk is ill-informed, because we have not understood the risk of the subject clearly. So understanding the risk of investment is one of the most important aspects when you want to make progress with your own investments. So I'll touch upon that. Now, so if you actually look at the risk of not investing is a much bigger risk than the risk of actually investing. So what is the risk of not investing? The risk of not investing is like a silent demon. We underestimate what is called inflation. It's like the termite in your woodwork, which is inside the wood, not visible from outside, but it's eating away into your woodwork. So inflation is that particular demon. Now, what exactly inflation means? Basically, 100 rupees that you use today to buy, the same 100 rupees will not be able to buy the same product, say 1 year, 2 year, or 5 or 10 year down the line. So if uh, something is costing 100 rupees today, and the inflation, say for example, is 12%, so after 6 years, the same thing will cost 200 rupees. That's what inflation is all. In normal Hindi term, that is called महंगाई. Okay. Now, second question: when it comes to risk and fear, greed cannot be far away. So I want to caution these people. Now, what I want to understand: why do people fall prey to get rich quick schemes or such promises where you say you'll get 30% return, 40% return? Why do we get trapped? The reason is very simple. See, when you're deciding about investments, it is more to go with emotions than with numbers. Okay, and I'll subsequent slide, if I time permit, we'll possibly prove that also. Here, the important aspect to understand is when you actually thinking about investment and future gains, your brain reacts in a certain way, and that's what demonstrated by what is called Pavlov experiment. A dog was served food. Every time he was served food, a bell was ring. People rang a bell and the food was served to them. It went on repeatedly for a number of days. In a subconscious mind, the bell was related to food being served. So after some time, the researcher rang the bell but did not serve food. The dog started salivating. This is how a mind starts when actually sees a very lucrative offers on play, and that is what happens to our greed. We give into that greed and get trapped in that what I saw quack investments. Now let's get to the knowledge. We are talking about financial planning. Why do we need to invest? Let me not waste time. This is it. So I spoke about inflation. So the leopard that you see on the screen is an inflation, and your return on investment is that lamb. If your return on investment is not faster than the inflation, that leopard, then you know what will happen. You will be somebody's lunch. Okay. In this case, inflation eats into your conventional fixed deposit also product. I'll come to that. So to beat inflation is a core objective of investments. And given the normal inflation and the lifestyle inflation that we are into, what do I mean by lifestyle inflation? Because we are under so much of peer pressure. We want to buy a car, change the car very easily, buy aspirational stuff. Our lifestyle has changed, and hence this investment is no longer a choice but a necessity. So let me give an example. Suppose if your portfolio is getting a 12% return and you're paying a tax of 30.9%, so your post-tax return is much lower. So you should focus on post-tax return, not on pre-tax return. That's one of the investment basics I want to share. So one, be wary of the risk and fear. Know the risk and fear, and managing become easier. Two, wary of inflation, and third, focus on post-tax return. These are three important parts before you start. Now, what is the secret sauce to wealth creation? Now, this we have learned in school. Which, when I ask a lot of this question, which number is a bigger number, most often people, or 50-50 people, are divided. Some say 5 raised to the power 10, some say 10 raised to the power 5. But actually, the number 5 raised to the power 10 is a much bigger number. And it happens because of simple reason. Now, we've studied this formula in our school, what is called power of compounding. Most often, we look only at one aspect, return. So whenever we invest, we ask a simple question, how much return we'll get? But we forget that the bigger wealth creations happens because of time horizon, that is N. And longer your time horizon you create, longer is the investment return that you'll have. So hence, when you're looking at return, you're looking at only one perspective of money management or investing, that is return. And the bigger, which is a more wealth creation option, if time, is actually getting missed out. So I'll not touch upon this example, but let me get you into what is called. So if you are basically trying to choose best transport for the distance that I mentioned out here. Now, if the distance was to a next kirana store, which is 500 meters, I'm sure you would choose bike given the 4 options. Noida to Gurgaon, so next slide captures that basically. So basically it captures for short-term investments or short-term requirement, you'll choose a vehicle which is like a bike. For a medium term, short term, it will go to a car, medium term a train, and long term it could be a flight. Say from here to London is flight. Now, many biking enthusiasts who love to ride a bike would even want to take a trip to London on a bike, and he will safely reach there also. But will it be a most efficient way? The answer is no. Similarly, when you try to achieve your long-term goals by fixed deposit kind of a product, then you're trying to use bike for going to London. Please remember this anecdote. Now let me put a different perspective. Suppose you're the richest man on earth and you own your own private chopper or flight aircraft, and you want to land this into your next kirana store. I'm sure it's going to be very fatal. Similarly, using equity products, which is a riskier product, to meet short-term or very short-term goal and also trading, it is very fatal to your investment portfolio. So choosing the right investment vehicle is the most optimum way of trying to ensure that you do the matchmaking perfectly. Now, while going on an equity journey on a flight, many times we face turbulence. So we fasten a seatbelt and sit there. Do we jump out of the plane? The answer is no. So if you've invested equity fund for a long-term period, you are bound to get volatility and turbulence on your journey. Ensure that you stay put for the entire journey and keep investing, and you ensure that you'll make a good happy landing and create wealth for yourself. Provide
interesting anecdote which you have presented in the slide also, but one very relevant question comes to my mind. And before we take up the questions, just want to ask the attendees to fill the feedback form at the end of the session. I think that the webinar was useful. Send us your feedback and also suggestions how we can improve on the content for the VT webinars. Coming back to the presentation and the topic, Tanwir, as you're mentioning about, as per the individual's requirements and goals, one has to choose. But one very important question which is there in my mind is that at the young age, normally people don't feel the need because it's a human tendency. They feel that we're still young, we just begun our careers, we have a lot of time ahead. So many a times they don't even think of insurance. And as well, you mentioned some of the different categories of investments. How is this behavior pattern? There's some change in the individual behavior or investor behavior over the years since you've been in this industry for a very, very long time?
Yes, very good question, Pallavi. See, what has happened, there are two things that has happened. It will be unfair to blame that the new millennials are only spendthrift and they are spending. It'll be unfair to blame that. There is two things that happened, and the second thing has happened more silently. One, yes, they prefer instant gratification. That I agree to that. But I'll answer this question differently. The two things happen. One, because to fund instant gratification, they are more of a consumption mode rather than saving and investing mode. But having said that, the second thing which is actually causing a problem is also the real-time wage has not gone up that significantly compared to what the blue-collar people. For example, a 10-year ago, a software person, a fresher used to get 2.4 lakh. Now the range has gone 4 lakh rupees. The wage rate has not gone that. These two reasons have led to more of consumption than savings habit. But having said that, let me basically segregate the entire millennials category into three categories. Age group between 20 to 25. Their focus is more of instant and they want experiential living. That is what they're looking at immediate now. The second set of people are between 26 to 30. They are in that age, they're about to get married. They started getting serious about money. And finally 30 to 35. That phase, a lot of people have just become younger parents, got married. So the concept of saving, the importance of savings for future or insurance comes at that stage. You're right. People in the base bracket between 22 to 25, their objective is how can I fund my vacation?
Right.
How can I buy, say, a Royal Enfield 350? How can I buy the latest phone that I have? Their short terms are more savings oriented, and hence it is advisable they do not invest in equity.
Right.
If you want instant gratification, instead of buying a phone on an EMI, suppose if that costs 60,000 rupees and you can save 10,000 rupees, it is advisable to save 10,000 rupees a month, get into the savings habit, and then buy a phone.
Well, it might take time to change the behavior pattern. We are left with only just 10 minutes. We'll start with a few questions which some of our attendees have sent. Harsh Chavla, he wants to know how to ensure I have the proper amount in an emergency.
Okay, for an emergency fund, depending upon the kind of job that you are in, especially if you are very young, it will be advisable to have 6 months of your monthly expenditure in an emergency fund.
6 months sounds very difficult for the youngsters. So
you have to build gradually over a period of time.
Maybe we can start with a month and then.
Yes, gradually they'll have to build it up.
So next question is by Mohini, and the question is how to make sure that I have proper amount of insurance so my family can be taken care of, or if something happens to me, or will become disabled or something, something happens to me, or maybe I'm a
So,
legal.
so there are two questions that she has asked. One is for if she is, God forbid, something happens, she is not there.
Or she becomes disabled.
So one is that is term insurance. If you are talking about temporary, partial, or a permanent disability, there is a separate insurance for that, which is for temporary, partial, or permanent disability, and that's called, you can club it with personal accident and disability insurance.
There's another question by Rahul. Which are the best products or products for retirement? And if you can please mention some of the products or things that you can consider for the retirement.
See, a normal systematic investment plan, what they call is SIP, in a mutual equity mutual fund, is also a good way of actually building a retirement plan. The other way of doing it is also investing in product like NPS, new pension scheme, which the government has launched, where you get tax savings also, and you can start investing over a long-term period. And that is how you can start building your retirement corpus.
So Rahul, you can start with SIP. You can slowly and gradually increase the amount that you plan to invest. Smriti has sent us a question. She says, is there something or anything specific that you can do to reduce her income tax besides whatever she's doing right now, or which is not mentioned in details? But she says something out of books. What does that mean?
Okay, see, one thing, if you are using your 80C benefit, which is including your entire available options that you have, there is additional 50,000 for NPS, that is 2 lakh rupees that you can invest. There is 80D. If you're taking for yourself, again, it's about 25,000 rupees that is available. So these are tax saving options that is available. So what you can additionally do, if you can talk to your employer and encourage them to run a corporate NPS. Up to 10% of your basic salary, you can incorporate it to corporate NPS, and that will not form a part of your compensation, but will get saved in your account separately, and you save full tax on 1/3 on this if you're on the highest tax bracket.
Now, Yash has sent us a question. He says, I'm asking this question on behalf of my father. He is a senior citizen. So he wants to know how can he maximize take-home salary as a senior citizen. And it's got, like his father has got 10 lakh rupees in fixed deposits and a monthly income of 10,000 as of now. Should I look for more investment options other than looking at the age factor for the use of this?
See, if taking money in fixed deposit, obviously I assume that your father would prefer having a safety, and that's the concern. So in fact, my next slide was there. I'll just quickly tell you. So if you're investing in equity for a period of one year, there's only a 68% probability of making money. And as you go up on a 10-year basis, there's 100% probability of making money. There are multiple ways of actually investing. If you want a safe and sound, the only concern of a fixed deposit is it might get taxed at the highest possible rate. So if it's not getting taxed at a highest possible rate, then it is wise to put in fixed deposit. There's no harm. But if it's getting taxed as a worry, then what they can do, using the debt fund of a mutual fund, you can structure your what is called SWP, which is a reverse of SIP. It's called systematic withdrawal plan. By doing that, you will reduce your tax liability very sharply. From 33%, it can go down as low as 0.4% if it's planned by a good advisor. That is the possibility that you have. Secondly, what you could do is also follow what is called a bucket strategy. All that money you will not require immediately. So some could be for short term, some could be for medium term, and short could be long term. Creating this bucket strategy will ensure that you take the overall pre-tax return also at a higher level. So a good prudent planning can help your father earn much more with the same amount of money and reduce the tax liability.
All right. We have one last question for this session. Ankita Garg has sent us a question. She says, in case of any loans part payment, should she go for a lower EMI or a lesser loan tenure? And how will this impact the monthly savings?
See, this question basically is from one perspective. See, it all depends upon your cash flow. If you're okay paying same EMI, then you reduce the tenure. Because remember, power of compounding, time horizon plays critical role. It's the reverse out here. If you reduce the time horizon, you will exponentially reduce your thing. But for any reason, if your cash flow does not permit and it's causing a problem, then you can choose it the other way around.
All right. So that's it for the session. Then we want to wind up with the entire slides. We have a few more minutes to go. And
so basically, I want to give one few last because as I said, investment is more to do with behavior rather than just about knowing and managing the maths. Okay, so what happens if you realize that the stock market started with 100, okay, in 1980, today it's 40,000 plus. It means if you invested 1 lakh rupees, it has become 4 crores rupees. If you invested only 1,000 rupees, that has become 4 lakh today. That's how the market has grown money. But when you ask and go on talking around your circle of people, they have more negative stories than the positive story on the equity and power of creating wealth. Because a lot of these people has tried to time the market, outsmart the market. And that is why we make those mistakes. And let me just quickly share you this. If you read through this few words, Pallavi, I mean, these are really few words. Since the audience can't answer, I'll ask you. I will have a certain set of words which is in the next slide. I want you to say which is not the word. Which word is not there in the last slide? Okay, just look at the slide. All the words are written there. In the next slide, I'll show you 4 words. One of them, the word is not there. Okay, which are the words that is not there?
Petrol.
Petrol. If you notice, sleep is also not there. But everything which is related to sleep, we get to get carried away.
Right.
So assumption is also very important factor. Now let me ask another question. This chocolate and bubble gum together is 110 rupees. Chocolate is 100 rupees more than bubble gum. How much do they individually cost you? Quick. These are simple maths. Quickly. दोनों मिला के 110. Chocolate is 100 rupees more. Don't calculate. Give me 5 quick. I want instant reply.
10.
10 and 100, right? Okay. The 10 and 100 difference is 90, not 100. If we actually go back, so our brain has 3 parts. Okay. One is called the emotional part. So your brain is just 2% of your body weight, consume 20% of oxygen to run the entire body. Okay. It is lazy by nature. And when you first try to take, when the stock market goes through ups and downs and you try to trade and time the market, you're bound to make this mistake because you take an emotional call. If you go back and calculate, the answer is 105 and 5. Okay, the difference is 100 then. So then when the brain does a mistake, then goes to the logical part to find, okay, what went wrong, and then you answer this. So most often people try to time the market, lose more money than what, and that's how the negative experience of the market people come in. So now last question, what is common across these all 4? All this number 4, right? Absolutely fine. What is common across this number? No idea. Okay, there's a missing number 6. Most often what happens is we tend to only see what is visually visible to us. Now in today's time, a lot of time people will get question how much I'm paying to the advisor, direct versus regular. See, what they miss out is the value addition which an advisor brings to the table. At times that is far more higher than the cost you pay to an advisor. In fact, a very interesting, I went for a water rafting. So like all Indians, we try to negotiate. So I was also trying to negotiate. That person told me something very so important that it stuck in my brain. He says, when you're trying to go for adventure sport, don't negotiate on the cost. Ask me what are my risk management matrix in place. If God forbid something happens, how are you going to save your life? And that was very important lesson. Here, when you go into an advisor, don't bother about the penny fees or something that you pay. Ask what are the risk management metrics. If something goes wrong, how are you going to?
That's on the top of mind. Initially, also when we were discussing at a younger age, people tend to think that I have a long life and have so many years to plan. So why should I start early? But then, as you always say, that starting early is the key. The more time you give to your investments and not investing again is a bigger risk.
Absolutely.
Not investing, investing better. Thanks a lot, Tanwir. I think the time is up for the session. Thank you so much for your time and for this interactive session. Thanks for watching, all the attendees, and do share your suggestions also and feedback. How can we improve the ET webinar sessions? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.